Problem 22. Sage Mom is melting butter in the microwave to use in her world-famous chocolate chip cookie recipe. The butter had a thickness of approximately 35 millimeters thick when it was first placed in the microwave. The thickness of the butter decreased at an average rate of 0.01 millimeters each second it is in the microwave, which function can be used to find the thickness of the butter X seconds after putting in the microwave. Every time we have been talking about writing the equation as y equals mx plus b. But I'm trying to find two things. The two things that I want to find, one of them is going to be m, while the other one, it's b. So I'm going to try to find those two things in my problem. And if I found it, then all I need to do is write the problem just like that. So let's begin. The butter has a thickness of approximately 35 millimeters thick when it was first placed. So when it was first placed, the thickness was 35 millimeters. That looks like a B. Let's see if I can find something that talks about the rate. The thickness of the butter decreased at an average rate of 0.01 millimeters. So it was the rate of 0.1 millimeters, and it was decreasing, meaning that it needs to be negative. If I'm going to write my equation as y equals mx plus b, I know my m and I know my b. So all I need to do is plug in those numbers for my equation. So the original thickness of the butter was 35. And the rate at it was melting, it was negative 0.01. So I'm going to look at my possible equations and see if I can find this same relationship in my answer choices. For problems F and G, if you were to do the distributive property first, even though you see the 35 there, right here, whenever you multiply that 35 times negative 0.01, it's going to take that 35 and make it so small that it will never be 35. So no, I don't want to do a distribution property multiplying that 35 times negative 0.01. So no, I don't want to do that distribution property. So I'm going to look at H and J. One of them is showing that negative slope that I want to see, which is right here, negative 0.01x. And it's also showing the slope that I want to see, that positive 35 right there, okay? So I want to select answer H, and I want to discard answer J because this slope being negative, that I don't want that thing to happen, not. So my correct answer is problem 23. The graph of line G is shown below. Which equation describes a line parallel to line G that has a y-intercept of negative 2? Okay, so let's begin. If I'm going to have a parallel line, it needs to have the same slope. So I'm going to go to the graph and I'm going to try to get the slope from here. So if I get the slope from here, I'm going to go with a rise of 1, 2, 3, positive 3, over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My slope is going to be 3 over 7. If I want my line to be parallel, I need to look for a 3 over 7, positive 3 over 7. This is the only line that has a positive 3 over 7. So that means that line B is parallel, and it has the y-intercept that I'm looking for, that is negative 2. And my correct answer is going to be B. Problem 24. Given the equation y equals negative 1 over 4x minus 7, what would be the slope of a line that is parallel to the given equation and has a y-intercept of 2? Well, this problem has too much information. The only question that you have here is, what would be the slope? So that's all you need to look. So if your question is what is going to be your slope, you first go to the equation and you identify your slope. Your original slope is -1/4, okay? Now, that has to be parallel. If it's parallel, it means it needs to be the same. So my equation, my slope needs to be -1/4. But the thing here is that -1/4 is not griddable. When you put that into the calculator and you convert -1/4 to a decimal, it's going to be -0.25. And this is the answer that you want to grade on your test. 25. Write the equation of the line that is perpendicular to y equals 2/7x minus 1 and goes through the point 5 to -5. Okay, so let's begin by understanding it needs to be perpendicular. If it's perpendicular, it needs to be opposite reciprocal to the original slope. So if my original slope was 2/7, my opposite reciprocal, the first one being positive, needs to be negative, and then needs to be flipped to 7/2. So when I go to those possible answers, my slope is going to be -7/2. Answer A doesn't have that slope. Answer B, it has the slope. Answer C doesn't have the slope. Answer D doesn't have that slope negative. So the only possible answer for this problem is just answer B. Problem 26. Which of the following equation is perpendicular to y equals -2x minus 4 and has a y-intercept of 3? So once again, I want to find perpendicular to the slope, -2. So if I'm going to write that slope, it's going to be -2/1. Perpendicular means it needs to be opposite reciprocal. My slope right now is negative. My slope will be positive. And then the numbers need to be flipped, so it's going to be +1/2. I'm looking for +1/2 on my answer choices. I see that F doesn't have that. G does not have 1/2. H has 1/2, but it's negative, and I want it positive. So my only possible answer now is J, and I can see that my y-intercept is 3, just like the problem said, 3. Problem 27. What is the equation of the line that passes through the point -5, 2 and has a slope of 0? So if I have a slope of 0, my line will be just a horizontal line, just like that, okay? And if it's a horizontal line, has a y, okay? And it has no slope, my slope is going to be 0. So if I try to write this equation, it's going to be y equals 0x plus the y-intercept, whatever the y-intercept is going to be, okay? But I'm looking at this 2 right here. So that means that line has a point at -5, somewhere over here, and 2, so that over there. So if that line continues completely horizontal, it's going to cross the y-axis at 2. So makes this line the equation y equals 2. 28. Which phrase describes the graph of y equals 8 on the coordinate plane? Well, we know that y equals 8 is going to be a line completely horizontal. So my line will look something like this. Here is going to be 8, and that's going to be my y equals 8. So I know a couple of things about it. I know that it's completely parallel to the x-axis, and I know it's completely perpendicular to the y-axis. So let's read. Is a line parallel to the y-axis? No, I already said it needs to be perpendicular to the y-axis. G, a line parallel to the y-axis? Well, no, it needs to be perpendicular to the y-axis. Is a line parallel to the x-axis and is 8 units below it? No, actually it is above it. J is a line parallel to the x-axis and is 8 units above it. Yes, answer J is the correct answer.